Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your mothers have practically built themselves. Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv coming to you from a little bit different angle today. So, you ever notice that as you get older, but over the years, people will ask you what school you went to, and usually they mean what college. That is, if if you did go to college. If you're in a like a city, if you're in and you're a group of folks that from the same city, quite often they'll ask you what school you went to, meaning high school. But quite often you get this over the years. What school did you go to? They don't mean elementary school. They don't mean junior high school. It's usually either your college or your high school that you went to that they're asking about. And I'm very fortunate in that my high school is still standing, and it's still going strong, and there's still a bunch of great learning going on there. But I can't say the same for the schools that my parents went to. The one that my dad went to, well, it's still standing, but it's not a high school anymore. It's now a college. And the school that my mother went to, well, it's been completely demolished. Today we're going to go to one of those sites, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. So let's get on the road. And we are at this busy intersection looking at this construction going on at this site, and I have a real sad tale to tell today. It's about a school, and moreover it's about a high school. High schools are a real important part of our life. So let's get right into this, and let's talk about something that used to be called Granite High School. So you saw what it looked like just this last week, and here's what it looked like about 3 years ago, right before they were getting ready to tear everything down. A bunch of the windows were boarded up. Big, beautiful trees there on the property that had been there for so many years. Right straight in the middle of this, though, there used to be a building they called the administration building that was torn down many years ago. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but here is how I remember Granite in 80s, 90s. Went to a 4th of July celebration there on the football field. Back in the 90s, the movie about the Highland rugby team, Forever Strong, was actually filmed there on the football field. So some great memories of that building. Here is the school seal. Yeah, when the school was first incorporated as a school. However, there wasn't a building on this particular site back then. No, the first building here I show was being built in 1910. The original site was 27.3 acres. And the original building cost in the area of $38,000 to build. This was later known as the administration building. And I remember this as the building my mother would point to when she talked about when she went to school there. And this was torn down, I want to say, sometime in the late 70s. Here's a great photo of it from the 1930s. Beautiful, just beautiful. Beautiful architecture, beautiful old building. Granite, like so many other high schools back in those days, were several buildings actually. Why they did it that way, I don't know. East was a great big huge one building, but anyway, this building I have conflicting information about. I have it built in 1919, and I also show it being built in 1916. But this was the next building built on the site just to the south of the administration building, called at the time the Science Building. And to the back of that, in 1925, they built what was called the Mechanical Arts Building, which I'm pretty sure that's going to be your industrial arts and auto shop and places like that. So Here's a beautiful view taken across the street to the west by where my friend Pat Chittister lived. We'll talk a little bit more about Pat and some of his pictures here in a few minutes. Well, my mother actually went to school here. Yeah, she went there for 3 years, starting in 1935. And here's a picture from her yearbook. It's kind of neat to be able to have something like this. Here's a picture from the 35 yearbook showing the, I'm just going to call it the science building. So I'm not the expert on Granite schools, and particularly Granite High School, so forgive me. A lot of my information and pictures come from the Granite High School Alumni Association, and I'd like to thank them for having these photos out there and available. But this was, well, this was, I want to say an auditorium, but it wasn't really the auditorium. This is from 36, I believe. And this is kind of an assembly hall area that they used as an auditorium. And same here. Because the main auditorium that folks remember, well, that wasn't built until 1939. Here's a great picture of the campus prior to that. The old junior high school. They're on 5th East, the science building, the mechanical arts building, and of course the administration building and the heat plant. Great, great picture from way back in the day. And of course, football field that pretty much stayed, well, where it was built back in, I want to say 1908, 1909 is when they built the field. All right, so here is the gym and auditorium building that was completed in 1939. I have actually been in this building, not all the way through it, but I've been through several parts of this building. There was a band and a choral room there. I went to a training there a few years back. Pretty darn neat place. Of course, this is a drawing of it. The actual building here, I can't remember when this was taken. This looks like a 50s, 1950s-ish picture, but taken from 3300 South. Man, again, beautiful, beautiful building. This would be the gym and auditorium building. This was before it was connected by the cafeteria, and I'm not sure what year that cafeteria was built. I want to say it was in the 1970s. Could be wrong though. So here's a picture from the 1940s, taken across the street. You can see 3300 South wasn't as wide back in the 1940s as it is these days. Yeah, they definitely took some property from both sides of the street to widen that out. Well, now here is a really nice aerial view of the campus. And again, don't know exactly the year on this one, but the administration building was still there. This is before they connected the gym and auditorium building to the to that original mechanical arts building. Although you see the old junior high and the buildings that have cropped up around there, just fabulous overhead shot. The problem for Granite, like so many other schools, is the enrollment dropped. It was down to 1,250 students in the 05-06 school year. And a determination was made to close Granite, which, how sad, the namesake of the district. So the 2009 school year was the last school year for Granite. And I've got a lot of pictures available to me. I just didn't post them. I mean, really, this is still a pretty sore spot. These pictures come from my friend, Pat Chittister, who lived just across the street and down a few homes from Granite High School on the west side. And when they tore it down a couple years ago, well, he got some pictures. These are awful sad. I sure hate to see old vintage buildings torn down for any reason. There was a lot of debate on what should happen with them, on whether or not they should be restored, whether or not they should be sold to a movie company, whether the South Salt Lake City would renovate them and turn them into, something of importance. Well, what ultimately happened is what usually ultimately happens in this stupid, valley. And I'll just say it because so much of our heritage is lost because of greed to build more homes or to build condos or to have a tax write-off. And here we go, torn down and gone. And in the opening shot, you can see the construction going on and the building of new homes on the site. So sad, sad epitaph. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed some of these pictures in this walk down memory lane for those of you who knew of Granite. And we'll see you again soon, folks. Thanks for joining us.